Hello, welcome to the Smartphone as an Access Key conference. My name is Dominika Gerychová and I work as a marketing specialist at ProID. Today's conference will be focused on the mobile phone as a security tool and key to enterprise data, the security of the data it contains, and also the prevention of security threats. Mobile is no longer used just to make calls and send messages, but also as a very powerful security tool that company employees can use on a daily basis. However, once the mobile phone becomes the key to sensitive information, it is essential to focus on its security and the prevention of security risks. Today, you'll hear several presentations from experts in the cybersecurity industry who will discuss trends in this area. They all have one element in common, and that is mobile security in the enterprise environment. I would like to thank the partners of the event, which are Talsec, Sharry, and Quokka. During the conference, you will be able to ask questions and write comments in the chat. Depending on the remaining time, we will pick a few questions. The entire conference is being recorded and will be sent to all who have registered. So you will be able to listen back to anything you missed today. We already have more online conferences planned on mobile security, so be sure to follow our social networks. And now I would like to welcome the first speaker, my colleague Jiří Změlík from ProID, who is the sales manager. Hi Jiří, you have the floor.
Hello everybody, my name is Jiří Změlík and I work in sales in the Czech-based company Monet Plus from the Czech Republic. First of all, I'd like to say, to introduce the company a little bit. So, Monet Plus has nearly 30 years of experience in securing digital identities as well as electronic payments. And one of the products we have is called ProID, and ProID is a platform, a solution for securing digital identities focused on enterprises. The whole platform could be divided into two ways it is focusing to. First of them is securing the identities of the workforce, so of the employees in the company. In here, we provide them different kinds of multi-factor authentication tools, as well as solutions for electronic signing, electronic sealing, and timestamping. The other part is able to secure the identities of the technological units that are connected to the network within the company. But today, as I said, we'll be focusing towards the workforce ID. Maybe I also wanted to say that the ProID platform has been on the market up and running for more than 15 years, and on a daily basis it is being used by just over 150,000 daily users. I was mentioning the 4 multi-factor authentication methods. So here I would like to just briefly introduce all of them. So first of them is a smart card, something that probably most of you is somehow familiar with. Then we have a solution for authentication with the use of a USB hardware token in combination with a special mobile app. We call it the Bitron. Then we also have the chance to virtualize the smart card and securely save it within the TPM chip of the laptop. And the last one, the one that we'll be talking about today, is the smartphone authentication app, which we call ProID Mobile. So, in a nutshell, what it is a method, a tool that will help to secure the identities of the workforce by providing them multi-factor authentication with the use of their smartphones. The people, the employees, will be able to log into various systems different kinds of applications, and they will also be able to perform electronic signatures. All this is done wherever possible in so-called passwordless way, so the user is not forced or there's no password needed to be typed in, not even a PIN number. So we believe that from my point of view over here, if ProID Mobile is enrolled within any kind of organization, first of all, it will fulfill some, let's say, cybersecurity needs, some cybersecurity requirements. But at the same time, the end users who will be using this tool, maybe it'll be the first time they'll be sort of like happy by having another authentication method or whatever improvement in the cybersecurity, because this time they will be not forced to prolong their passwords or change them regularly, but by simply integrating a lot of daily use cases, they'll be able to just authenticate themselves in a secure way just by simply using the biometrics in the phone. When speaking about security, we do take it seriously, and so an interesting fact is that the ProID app is already also equipped with an extra security layer. It is a product that is called Talsec, and the product is basically constantly monitoring the behavior of the application and the phone, and you will definitely learn more about Talsec later on in some of our upcoming presentation. The solution, ProID Mobile, can be deployed as a service, so based on some monthly subscription fees that mainly, let's say, depend on the use cases and the total amount of users. But if for some reason this would be required or preferred to be installed on-premise within the customer's environment, we can also do so. So we believe this could also be one of the advantages of the solutions. Last but not least, this complete solution is 100% designed and developed within our company, within Monet Plus. So we are in full control, full charge of the whole platform. We, of course, keep developing it on a regular basis. We as well listen to the feedback from our customers, and if it makes sense, we can easily edit it into the roadmap. So yes, this platform is being constantly developed. The application can be used on both Android and iOS phones, and the way it is processing the authentication requests could be done in 3 different ways. First of them, and I believe the most preferred option, will be a push notification, a mobile token that is sent to the phone every time there is some kind of a request coming. So the user just has to open the push notification and perform the authentication. In this case, the prerequisite is that the mobile phone has to be online. The computer or the workstation where the person is logging into can be offline because the communication is happening through Bluetooth Low Energy. The second option is a one-time password that could be generated within the application, and the user can log into those systems and applications afterwards by just using the code. The last option is an SMS message that could be sent to the phone, and I believe this could eventually be in use in case the user is in need of the mobile authentication method, but he doesn't have the smartphone, so he could use the benefit of the SMS message. The last 2 options are also working when the phone is offline. Over here, I would like to show you, because I was mentioning that the user could benefit from logging into different kinds of applications and systems. So over here, we can see what everything the app can be used for. So first of all, it is logging into operation system. Whether it's Microsoft Windows, Mac OS, or Linux, you can safely and securely, at the beginning of the workday, logging into your computer just like that. As well, if this is set up, we could use a single sign-on that afterwards, after this logging, the user will be also logged in into selected applications. The next thing is also very important, is logging into different kinds of VPNs. Today, it is normal to work from home, or people are working while being on business trips, and it is necessary for them to log in safely and securely to VPN. So you can just see a selection of a few that we're able to integrate, and you could use this on a regular basis. Then there are numerous of third-party applications that each of us is used to use on a regular basis again, whether it would be some CRM systems or anything from the Atlassian family or Microsoft 365, you name it. Like, all these applications could be also integrated within the app. So again, every time you use it, you will perform the multi-factor authentication passwordless without the need, without the use of the biometrics. Then also, it might happen that within your company, you are using your own application that you have developed yourself, or somebody has custom developed it for you, or multiple applications, of course. And as long as these are supporting the authentication protocols, we can also integrate it and add it into the portfolio of the use cases. Then we have a separate group of admin applications. So again, you can see Checkpoint, Fortinet, and some other ones, which can also be added, and mainly with via the Radius protocol, this can also be integrated in the application. Already you can see there's a quite a big volume of possible applications that the users can benefit from. And we have one last, and that's the electronic signature. So imagine you can sign different kind of documents, or let's say PDF documents, on the go, even without the need of being present at your workstation, just with the use of the smartphone, or let's say tablet as well. So we believe this could be a great benefit to this already wide portfolio of services, and it is something that we all will be used to do it more and more in the upcoming future. I'm sure you're also interested into the whole flow of the process. So we have prepared two slides that will show you how does it actually work. So first of those is a secure logging into an application. Here I have chosen the logging into Microsoft Windows, so something we all can get familiar with. So first of all, I run the computer and I see the login screen where I will choose to log in with the use of a mobile method. Once I do it, I will receive in a while, or in a short while, a request to authenticate. So once I do it, the phone will connect with the computer via Bluetooth Low Energy, and once this is paired, I will receive the official notification to be authorized. Here you can see it asks me to perform the authentication for logging into Windows. So if I click approve, I can either use the biometrics of the phone to do it, or of course there's also a 6-digit PIN in the background that I can also use as a backup option, but I'm sure that most of the users would prefer the first option of the biometrics. Okay, so now once this is done and approved, I'm successfully logged into the Windows. Second thing is the electronic signature. So imagining I'm in need of signing some kind of PDF document. All I need to do is to logging into some ProID portal where I will just easily drag and drop the file I need to sign in. And once this is done, again, I receive a push notification on my phone asking me for authentication of myself in order to electronically sign a document. So again, same story as last time. I see the notification and I approve it. Again, very likely use the Face ID or fingerprint to authenticate. And what happens in 2 seconds, I receive the signed document. I can see the signature. The same thing can also be done completely just on the phone. So I can access the portal on the phone and then choose the document and perform the signature. And I don't need to sit in front of my computer in my office. There's also a great a feature that we have in the case, of course, if this is required by a customer, that gets activated in the event of some internet connection breach. So if this happens for some reason, and because our solution is in the cloud, we can install within the on-premise environment of the customer something we call fallback TOTP module, that in this case there will be no internet whatsoever. The admins of the company, when they will be using their admin applications or, for example, VPNs, they can still perform the multi-factor authentication, but this time it will be communicating directly with the fallback TOTP module that's installed within their premises. This brings me to summarizing the key features of the solution. So I think the word security has already been said a few times, but I would like to point out just some of the, or highlight the best features we have. So first of all the keys and certificates are securely stored in a hardware security model. I was also mentioning the Talsec product that is monitoring constantly the state of the application and the phone. And another great thing is that the password that the user is using, so let's say the 6-digit PIN that has to be input at the very beginning of the use of the app, is not stored on any backend systems of the customer's premises. So the secret is stored in some secure element inside of the smartphone. And the last thing, from the security point of view, I would say that we do support the best technologies available. First of them is PKI, so public key infrastructure, so based on different kinds of certification authorities that are issuing certificates. And then authentication protocols, especially OIDC, SAML 2.0, or OAuth 2, as well as the Radius protocol. From flexibility point of view, I'd like to highlight the fallback option that I was explaining just before. Also, our solution is completely white label ready, which might be quite handy to some of the larger customers in case they would like to use it in their graphics and so on. And then also the possibility of the installation of the whole platform, which, let's say, usually we deploy it as a service, but we can also install it within the customer's premises. And last but not least, if ProID Mobile is something that is not sufficient at some stage, and the company would like to benefit from some other solutions, we have 3 more to choose from. They can be combined, and for example, each of the users can use multiple authentication tools. So, for example, I'm used to use on a daily basis my smart card as well as the smartphone. Last part is the business part. So we are supporting your custom-made applications which could be easily integrated within the portfolio of the authentication methods, as well as the remote electronic signature, I would say, is something that standing out among the other competition. And then from this most complex slide where you could see all the use cases and applications you can use it for, I think it's great that for everything, just one simple application can be used. You could easily probably see how many times in a typical daily routine this employee would probably use the application. And it's great if you don't have to combine any other tools, you don't have to remember any passwords, and just do everything very seamlessly just using the biometrics. Last to mention is our 24/7 support of the whole platform. So the availability of the solution is very reliable, but I would say this is something that's completely a standard for us. Also, I wanted to point out some selection of the key verticals for us. So our ProID platform, I said, is being used by over 150,000 users on a daily basis. Mainly, we would be targeting the healthcare, so hospitals and different kinds of pharmaceutical organizations. We're also very strong in the fintech and telco industry. In the government, we're used to work with different kinds of ministries or just securing municipalities or regional authorities. Also, critical infrastructure is a very important vertical for us. For example, as I was mentioning, the on-premise installation, it is something that in many cases is mandatory required by those kinds of organizations. And the manufacturer, so let's say the automotive and automation industry, as well as the army and space and so on, is something that is definitely up and on the rise from the perspective of realizing of the need of implementing such security solutions. So this is also an important vertical for us. What do we do if someone is interested in a proof of concept or just wants to try out our solution? What we do, or all we need to do, is to basically gather your needs, your requirements, what would you like to use it for, and after that we can prepare the demo, and after a short discussion with you, we can go straight to the proof of concept. We're also very happy to find some new business partners in order to help us to expand our distribution channels outside of Czech Republic and Slovakia. So if anyone is interested by our solution, and doesn't matter if it's a distributor or an IT integrator, please feel free to reach to us, and we'll be very happy to discuss a potential business opportunity. So at this moment, that's everything from me. Thanks very much to everyone for attention, and see you some other time.
Thank you, Jiří, for an excellent presentation. Now I will pick a few questions from the chat. And the first one is, how could we start using the product? Is it possible to prove POC in your environment?
Of course, it is something that I have already mentioned. What we need to know is exactly the specification of all the use cases. Let's say this could be a matter of a few days just to clear everything out, and let's say once this is done, we can run the POC for some selected group of users within your company, and let's say after some time, if everybody's happy or would like to change something, we can either do it or just roll out this solution for the rest of the users in the organization.
Okay, thank you for the answer. And I think we will be able to answer all of the questions. So the second question is, you mentioned that you support MFA in your custom application. How do you do that? And are you using any authentication protocol?
Yes, we are using authentication protocols. It is OpenID Connect, as it SAML 2 and OAuth 2.0, as well as the Radius protocol. So, as long as your custom application is able to support any of the mentioned protocols, it shouldn't be an issue for us at all to integrate this and add it within the portfolio of what you need for the proof of concept.
Okay, and let's answer the last question. Which option do you recommend using, mobile token or OTP?
I think the answer is pretty easy. I definitely would recommend to use the mobile token. It is something that is very convenient, requires the least effort from the side of the user, and it's just simply very, very convenient. But I also understand a different point of view when, for example, people will need it, the one-time password due to some, let's say, unavailability of the internet connection. So in this case, I'm sure it does make sense for some of the customers. But if we are not sure what would be the best for the customer, and if we may prefer, let's say, both of the options, like it could always be enabled that either all of the users or just some of the users are allowed to use both the mobile token as well as the OTP.
Okay, thank you very much once again, Jiří. And there will be now a short break, followed by a talk by Michal Čeřovský on how you can access your office just with a mobile phone. See you in a few minutes. Hello everyone, you are watching the Smartphone as an Access Key online conference. We have covered authentication and signing for workforce identity via mobile app from Jiří Změlík, and now Michal Čeřovský, COO and co-founder of Sharry, is sitting here next to me, and he's going to speak about how to access your office just with a mobile phone. Hello Michal, the floor is yours.
Hello Dominika, thank you for the invitation. And good afternoon to all of you who are in Europe, and early morning for you who are in US. So My name is Michal Čeřovský, and I work in Sharry. And we focus on the most convenient access to the commercial buildings and your offices. So when I'm saying an access, I mean the physical security. So everywhere you need to pass some turnstiles, doors, elevators, parking gates, but even the lockers or secure printing in your office. And to pass those turnstiles, you will probably use this plastic card. And I don't know how you, but me personally, I was looking for this card all the time. So where I left it, in my trousers, in my jacket, in my car, in the meeting room, hell, it was really hell. So we tried to get rid of those cards and use your phone as an employee badge. It's easy, it's private, and it's secure. Let me start with the outstanding user experience. So first of all, you need to get this badge to be able to enter your office. And it's typically a long process. You need to take a picture, print a badge. Someone who is able to put it to the access system has to give you the permissions and hand it over physically, the card. It's really long. With your mobile, you can easily download the application, log in with your company's single sign-on, and just add your badge to the phone, to the Apple Wallet. And voila, you can go to your office. It's a 1-minute process, and everyone can use it. It's super simple. You would probably add your credit card to the phone, and it's the same simple process. But not just the badging is the most critical thing. The most critical thing is day-to-day operation. I forgot to say that it works because of the integration. So once the card is generated, we are pushing that to the access control system, to the parking system, to the elevator system. So that's why it should work in 1 minute. And actually, it's a requirement from Apple. So this integration is necessary. And I'm happy to say that we have most of the used access control systems, elevator systems in the market, especially in US and Europe. But as I said, the critical is day-to-day operation. You may potentially use some mobile credentials or mobile access, and it worked typically like, okay, I need to open the application, choose the door, click to open button, and after 2-3 seconds, voila, the door was opened. But it's good for a showcase, but it's not good for the daily operation. So for daily operation, you need to have the same experience or better than with your plastic card. And I would like to show you this video because I think that it tells you more than some pictures or words. And this is the video shooted by a YouTuber tech team, and it was shooted in 167 Green, the commercial building in Chicago, which are using not just our solution, but the Apple Wallet solution in the building for all tenants. And actually, it's the first building which was available, where this solution was available for all tenants. So as you can see, he just downloaded the building application, and the key is how quick he can pass through the turnstile. So he doesn't need to open any application. He just placed the phone to the reader and just go. The same experience as with the card, super quick and 100% reliable. So as I said, it's the same experience or even better than a plastic card, or if you pay with your credit card in the shop. But, okay, you can also use your watch, for example, so you don't need even take your phone from your pocket. But as I said, it's better to have even better experience. So if we can combine it with a Bluetooth, you can open the doors, for example, parking barrier, from longer distance, so you don't need to lean out from the window, park really, really close to the reader, and so on. You can even get some extra information once you pass some security area with the instruction, with how to behave, or with some, just the news, what's happening in your building. So you will never forget your badge again, as I, and if you do, you will probably go back home and take your phone with you to work. Okay, this is the user experience, but what about the security? So, as I said, it's securely saved in Apple Wallet. So it has the same security as your credit card. It's secured by Apple, so you should be really safe. If it's safe for your money, I think it's safe for your physical space as well. It has, I don't want to go through the details, you can ask later on, but it's super safe, guaranteed by Apple. And if you need some more security, you can add or require the double authentication. So once you place your phone to the reader, you will be asked for the face recognition to prove that you are who you really are. But the security is not just about the technology, it's also about the process. And I think that you would agree that you borrow your phone less frequently than a plastic card. You also lost your phone less frequently than this piece of plastic. And in case you lose your phone, you realize that really quick. I think really quick, much more quicker than a plastic card. And you can easily block your employee badge in your phone from your iCloud just to mark your phone as a lost or your watch. And nobody can misuse your access badge. Okay, I think that's all from my side. If you want to ask any technical question, or if you are interested in this kind of cool and secure access in your office, you can reach me out, and I will answer all those questions. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for sharing your expertise with us, Michael. And now we will pick a few questions from the chat. And the first one is, do you support Android-based platforms as well?
Yes, we do. I'm talking about the Apple because it's quite new. Apple just allows us use the Apple Wallet and NFC chip last year, so it's super new on the market. But yes, we do support Android phones, and we can use their NFC chip for a long time. And now there is also a Google Wallet, which we support too.
Okay, thanks. And the second question is, how do you define the ROI for mobile as access?
So regarding the ROI, there are some matters you need to consider. So first of all, you need to consider that you're saving time of the administration. Almost 20% of the plastic cards are lost every year. you have some fluctuation in your company. You have some new hires. So there's a lot of administration you can save with this solution. The second part is the security, for sure, like from the process point of view, at least. And the third part is ecology. So we have also some clients who use our solution only because of that, because of ecology, that they will save some CO2 because of the plastic and because of the delivery costs or delivery CO2 cost. So yes, it can be calculated. It's a little bit more expensive than plastic cards, but still ROI is about 2-3 years.
Okay. The next question is, can this be used with any reader, or do I need specific door readers to enable this to work?
Yeah, good question. So maybe I get back to one slide, which is this one. I don't know if you can see it. So we do support mobile credentials, which means that those mobile credential providers typically are the producer of the readers. So as you can see, we support HID, Salto, STID, Wavelinks, and Suprema, which is quite a significant part of the market. And if you have your readers like 4 years or 5 years old, you should be good. If you have older readers, you need to replace your readers in the office.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. The next question is expanding the first question, and it is, how do you support Android mobiles? Is it with Google or Samsung Wallet?
Yes, so it's Google and Samsung Wallet in the first place. In the second place, we can support it through our application, which uses HID SDK, and we can use the current NFC chip as well. But yes, Google Wallet and Samsung Wallet is something new, and we do support it, but we don't have a client yet, so we support it just at our office right now.
Okay. And we have one more question in the chat, and it is, when authenticating at the door entrance reader, do you need firstly select your company's badge or card on your phone's app?
No, it works automatically, and the reader pick up your company's badge automatically, and you can even have 2 badges in one, let's say. So you can have like the building mobile credential and your company mobile credential in one. So it will automatically pick up the one which is needed.
Okay. There is one more question. Is user experience or ecology a great ROI point to convince business team to switch to mobile as an access card?
I don't know what IOI stands for.
ROI.
ROI, sorry. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think it's something that you need to persuade people a little bit because it's something new, and it's the same like better office, let's say. But I think that especially young people, we see a strong push from young people to the company's leadership that they don't want to use such plastic cards because it's like old-fashioned. Yeah, everything is in your mobile, and if you don't need your driving license, your credit card, your ID, you don't need access badge like to have it physically. They wanted to have it in the phone. So I think it's not so hard. Like it's a discussion, but it's not so hard. Yeah.
And very easy to use.
And very easy to use in
Yeah.
the end, yeah. So typically, if the leadership see how it works, it's so convenient that it's easy to persuade them.
Okay. Thank you very much for all your answers. I think all the questions were answered already. So we will now take a short coffee break, during which we will change speakers, and then you can look forward to a presentation by Sergiy Yakymchuk. We would be happy if you could fill out the form that you received in your email and get a feedback from you. You can find the link to the form in the chat or in your email. See you later. Greetings to all and welcome back after a short break to the Smartphone as an Access Key online conference. Earlier, we discussed the topic of easy access to the office via Apple credentials and your mobile phone. And now I am joined by CEO of Talsec, Sergiy Yakymchuk, who will be talking about App Security SDK to get regulation compliance and combat mobile fraud. Good afternoon, Sergiy. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Dominika, and thank you for inviting me here and for the opportunity to speak today. It was really interesting presentations of people before me, for speakers before me, about authentication and access to the buildings. And if you may notice that all that solutions are based on mobile apps today, and practically we live in apps world these days. So we spent about 80% of our online time today is spent in apps, not in browsers as before. I didn't even notice when did it happen. And I would like to talk about this, the security challenges, which are specific to mobile apps world, because security of apps is pretty much different from the security we used to and we were dealing before apps era. Yeah, I'm co-founder of Talsec, and this is a mobile security company. I will give you a little bit of information about Talsec, its history. It's like, I hope I will manage this boring part quickly and jump directly to the interesting part when what is special about Talsec and what we do differently for protecting mobile apps. So we used to be a software house. So we used to be a software house which developed mobile banking apps. So it was our main competence, and our history is as mobile developers. So we repeatedly were solving similar type of issues, similar type of regulation requirements, best practices for mobile apps. And like 3 years back, we decided to actually productize this competence and this code base we already had. So we wrapped what we had and add some additional things. We wrapped it to SDK. So SDK is like a component, it's software development kit. And we actually decided to address our technology for mobile issuers, mobile developers, and we decided to help them to win time. So I jumped over this boring slideware, like yes, we had something to proud about, and I will talk about it later a little bit. But I would like to focus on what is special about Talsec. So our motto of our main value proposition is winning of time for mobile developers. All what we have, actually, mobile development teams can do themselves, but it may take them half a year of work to implement all the requirements, all the best practices for securing apps to the level of which is needed for modern fintech grade. So we believe we are fintech grade technology. So we try to deliver the best practices and technology for teams which want to stay on the level of mobile banking or fintechs. And how to reach it? How to reach the winning of time? What we should do for that? So since our DNA is to help developers to catch up quickly with security and focus on features, we need to keep it simple. So this is one of the core value of our technology and our products is the simplicity for developers to integrate and simplicity to understand and quick time to market, let's say. So I'm not sure if Einstein said this, that it's easy to complicate and hard to simplify, but just I like this photo. Another aspect of it, of the simplicity, how do we address this, is actually not doing things. So we are really good in selecting what we do. We are really careful about features we decide to do. So we really try to combat as much as possible the engineering bias, as you may see on this picture, which I draw, by the way. I didn't find in public sources the picture that is free to download, so I had to draw it. And this is actually just a joke, which is explaining the engineering bias. We all engineers, we love to do technology, we love technology, and we usually forgot why we are doing it. It is possible to do, then we jump on it and do it. So we really try to cut off the parts which has no real value. Our main driver is to do only things that are either requested directly by development teams, why they need it, or the security vulnerabilities which are exploitable. And we verify very carefully what is actually exploitable today. We don't do theoretical security. We focus on something which can be exploited. And our approach to this is, how did we start it actually? We created first and only available today in the market a freemium version of Security SDK for mobile developers, RASP, in RASP category, let's say. RASP stands for Runtime App Self-Protection, and I will talk about it later. But this is the main source of information. How do we select what to do, and how do we polish our product and fine-tune it and remove bugs, false positives, everything which makes us trouble. So we collaborate a lot with the community of developers and apps which use our freemium product today, and this gives us a really huge source of information, and this is main qualification for us if the feature worth doing it or not. Another source of how do we decide what to do is OWASP. We really love OWASP best practices and OWASP as a standard today for pen testing of the apps. It's a really great framework which we love, and we try to contribute it and use it as much as we can. There are also some hot topics, hot attacks types that may be not explicitly part of OWASP today, but we know we need to address it because we have experience with exploiting this type of issues. These are like session hijackings, like SIM swapping, or different type of API abuse, and like uninstall untrusted installation sources and others. So all that we try to cover in our products to help developers address these issues quickly. So if I simplify what is our what do we sell, what is our value proposition, is the three components which address three slightly different aspects of mobile development. First is runtime app self-protection, RASP. Another one is AppEcrypt, which is our innovation. I will talk about it later. It helps to address, let's say, API abuse issues. And third element is app hardening suite. And this is like different tools to address best practices for securing your app. So I start one by one. So RASP, what it is actually, to simplify, what it is about, is something to address problem of reverse engineering and malware attacks. What it actually does is making your app to be aware about state of the security of execution environment. So where the app runs, RASP helps to detect problems and react on problems, actually. So if device is rooted, if it's running an emulator, if it's like app is being tampered, if it's app running with hooking framework connected to it, and this kind of things. So there are dozens and dozens of different security parameters of the execution environment that our technology can detect. What it also does, it sends the threat signals to the database, to monitoring database. It's actually good for auditing and monitoring purposes, where you can collect all the information about all the app instances running in the field and what's going on inside. What apps are running in rooted devices, what apps are being tampered with or changed, what apps are under debugger or something like that. So all of the things our clients can easily detect and monitor and react in time. AppEcrypt, so the second component. This is actually thing that we're really proud of. We won the cybersecurity trophy for this technology, and this is our innovation that we protect, and we believe it's nobody can do something like this today, and we believe really important component of security. So what it does, if I simplify again, it makes your backend aware about the state of the app security and app integrity and execution environment integrity on the device. But in this time, your backend becomes aware of this in the real time within the transaction and bound to the transaction context. So it's not like authentication token which has validity. It's really something unique. It's unique cryptogram which makes it's really protected against reply attack and not vulnerable to session hijacking. It actually implements the concept of zero trust for mobile use cases. And just a little bit of history, how we came up to these technologies. We tried to address the problem that RASP, whatever the RASP technology, it's always vulnerable to reverse engineering still. So it is still possible, if you invest enough time, to just bypass it or remove it from the code to make a clone of your app without RASP part. So since it is running in not trusted environment of the mobile phones of the users. So ultimately, reverse engineer always win if you invest enough time and resources. So we tried to make his job as complex as possible. And AppEcrypt is actually the way how to do it, so that if someone just remove RASP part from your app somehow, your backend will know it in a real time. So the transaction can be rejected immediately. So as a side effect of it, so what we realized after is that this technology became a very efficient tool to protect API and to filter out all the malicious traffic which is bombarding usual APIs today. So like password brute forcing, fake registration, botnets, session hijacking, and like manual API abuse through the postman. And how do we protect API normally today? Is that like authentication token, like Java Web Token, JOT? This is something which we presume to be protected, and etc. Even if you do it with the help of safety net or AppCheck, it's still something that still has validity period. So it's still vulnerable to reply attack, and it still can be stolen and misused by somebody outside. So this is a problem that AppEcrypt is addressing, and this is a problem that we are solving actually. The 95% of API exploits today happen through the authenticated API. So attackers has valid authentication token. And the only thing that can help is something like zero trust, where you can verify if the calling party is actually coming from the alleged application on a alleged device. And this is what AppEcrypt is actually doing. So this slide is just presenting how this filtering can work and listing all the different, on the left side you can see all the different type of attacks or exploits that can be filtered out by applying AppEcrypt technology. Okay, and now I switch to third element of our value proposition and third type of problems that we are addressing. These are just different type of must-have things or very best practices that we believe needs to be implemented. The first thing is dynamic TLS pinning. It's really a mandatory thing today. Yeah, so man in the middle, still valid issue, or VPN in the middle, or malicious VPN in the middle, or there are many ways how this can be exploited this vulnerability can be exploited if you don't do TLS pinning today, how the TLS certificates can be compromised. Our dynamic TLS pinning technology is actually helping developers to avoid reissuing the app whenever the TLS certificate expires or certification authority changed or something like that. So it's really a nice tool to have, and our clients enjoying it. Another set of features is app data encryption, what we call it. It's just different ways how app needs to cope with protecting the user's data or sensitive information which it planned to transfer over the API, like to implement end-to-end API encryption, or how to protect API keys or different assets that developers need to protect somehow to avoid static code analysis and to be exposed easily. Another feature of this part is local data encryption. It's like secure storage, sometimes called. It's a way how to protect the user's data while it is stored in the device, because it's really easy today to get access to the shared preferences if it's open, or if developers need to protect something like machine learning models or some other assets. Yeah, so just to wrap up, I will just try to leave a little bit more time for questions, if any. The business model of Talsec is a subscription. So this usually we also include in the subscription that we deliver to our clients a penetration testing. So this is part of the subscription that is usually bundled with SDK we provide. It is internal pen testing, so that we cannot be at the same time external pen testers and SDKs vendors, so it's conflict of interest somewhat, but we still believe it is very good to use this service to let us to reverse engineer your app, to do some kind of ethical hacking, to help our clients build a security roadmap, so that our clients know what to do next and what issues are still uncovered. And the second, third, and fourth point here, these are actually SDKs that I already mentioned before. What is, again, I would like to highlight here that we are opening partnership program today, so we are developing our partner network. This is relevant for like software agencies or system integrators who build more than 2-3 apps per year. Then our pricing can be very attractive for them when they have series of apps during the year. It's good. We help them to build a kind of security baseline, let's say, so that they can apply it to all the apps they deliver, and it can be very efficient collaboration in this case. Okay, so that's basically it from my side. I thank you very much, and I welcome to visit our webpage, talsec.app, and feel free to drop your questions now in the chat, and if you have any.
Yeah. Thank you for your presentation. The first question from the chat is, what is the most dangerous attack vector on app from your experience?
Well, I think the worst thing that may happen is when the app is cloned or like tampered with and republished to alternative stores, to some, let's say, Huawei App Store or some alt stores, let's say, call it like that. There are many of them. And this app is tampered with the way that it leaks the authentication tokens. And then it's something that you cannot solve with biometrics, you cannot solve it with multi-factor authentication, OTP, whatever authentication you use. If the authentication token is leaked from the cloned app, there are very few things you can do about it, and we really encourage our clients and overall community to look at this problem very carefully.
Okay, thank you for the answer. The next question is, do you have statistics on vulnerable devices of users?
Yeah, let me see. I have a couple of slides. If you can show my slides again, please.
Can we switch back to the presentation?
Not that one. It's again my nice drawing, but yeah. So I have a couple of slides on a big cup, which I used speaking on a WASP conference recently, and this is depicting the statistics of that from our let's say community users, from free RASP users, that we see globally. So it's like from millions and millions of different users over the globe. So currently we see that about 20% of users are not using the screen lock. So it's very basic security measure, but still 20% of users are not locking the phone. So if they leave it on a table, it is fully accessible for the apps, for the attackers who may misuse your app, even if it's a banking app. Another problem is that only about 40% of users trust biometrics in their device, even if it is device-enabled phones. It's about only 30–40% of users using it. There is, I would say, some prejudice towards the biometrics. We need to still educate users and explain them that it is not that troublesome as they see it, as they afraid of it, exposing their fingerprint, for example, or something. And there are some statistics that you can like make a screenshot now. So, for example, we now see about 0.3% of rooted devices on the market. We see quite many devices without hardware-backed key store. We see at about 1%, 1.5%, about 1% of devices doesn't have access to Google Play services and verify apps. By some reason is disabled. So it really depends on country, but overall statistics is on the screen. Do we have any other questions?
Yes, we have one last question. It is, if a user goes offline, will SDK collect signals locally and then push them to the server when a user becomes online?
Yeah, good questions. It's a technical one. It's probably one of our clients of free RASP users. Yes, it works exactly as asked. We have some caching mechanism. So when data is collected, when the app is disconnected from the internet, and then it's boosting the collected threats to the backend. I'm not sure if we have it. I think we don't have it in all users. We don't have it for free RASP, but in some plans, it's a feature I remember we implemented this.
Okay, thank you for all your answers and for your presentation. It was really great.
Thank you very much.
And now it's time for a short break. We'll be back shortly after we switch speakers. Next up, we have an exciting talk by Ilya Dreytser on proactive mobile fleet protection. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Welcome back to the Smartphone as an Access Key online conference. We have one last talk ahead of us, which will be different from the previous ones, not only in topic, but also in the way we interact with the presenter. Joining us online from Boston is Ilya Dreytser, who will be speaking on proactive mobile fleet protection. Hello, Ilya. I'm handing the floor over to you.
Thank you, Dominika. Thank you, everybody, for inviting me. And it's my pleasure to follow such great presentations and to refer to them here. And as we said, today we'd like to talk about the risks of mobile devices and mobile applications. In fact, as you already heard, the reason that we can replace smart cards or plastic cards with our phones, and the reason that we can access so many resources on our phones is because we always have our phones with us. And as you already heard, there are excellent solutions to make sure that the right person is using the device. Sergiy just talked about biometrics, and of course, ProID has an entire suite to make sure that devices can access company resources or even buildings. And with the technology of RASP, and with some of the things that Sergiy just talked about, you can make sure that a application is secured if it's a participating application. But what if the device itself has been compromised? So if it's a corporate device, the corporate data could be stolen by malicious apps, or maybe you can use the device to listen or to use the camera and maybe even send SMS or make phone calls without the user knowing. And valuable information can accidentally leak by poorly built applications which are not using a RASP. And so the question is, how can devices get compromised? In fact, there are many ways, but the most common approach is applications, because a device is a piece of hardware, but it's running 100, 200, 300 applications on it. And each app is downloaded from somewhere like the market. And, it's using different development workflows and different levels of security. So you guys probably have seen, TikTok is in the news a lot today. And it's been identified as having some issues. But TikTok is not the only application that has problems. Actually, last year, there was several news articles just like this one, where Google is removing various apps from the App Store, which had tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of downloads, and actually have some problems. And it's not just Google. In fact, Apple occasionally has to remove applications as well. And, you've all seen this in the news. So we know that a single device, a single piece of hardware can easily have hundreds of apps, and those apps are modified all the time, right? There are new versions which are published to the store. There are new types of apps that are pushed to the store. So we at Quokka, this is what we do for a living, right? We scan mobile apps and look for problems. And I just wanted to share a couple results with you. So in the last 3 months, just January until the end of March, so 3 months, we scanned almost 14,000 different mobile apps on Android and on iOS. And actually, we scanned many versions of those apps because, as I say, people keep modifying or updating the applications, and we expect that to be good. Features are being added or things are being fixed. But in reality, mistakes are also made occasionally, and or maliciously apps are sent into the store for us to use. So we scanned 42,000 applications of 14,000 unique applications, and this is what it looks like. So actually, both Android and iOS have some problems. And in fairness, we scan more Android applications, so we see a little bit more issues on Android than iOS. But based on the last presentation from Talsec, it's very clear that they have a lot of market share that they can get, because the number 2 problem that we detect for Android applications is that there is no RASP being used, which means the app is not protected. And as you can see, the number 1 problem is the applications are requesting too many permissions. So, for example, we've seen a simple app made for children to take to brush their teeth. It's a cute little timer and it says, oh, let's make sure you brush your teeth well. Okay, no problem. But why is that application asking for camera and microphone access if a child is going to take it to the bathroom to brush their teeth, right? So requesting excessive permissions and not protecting the applications are literally the top two problems. And then we have other things like no data at rest encryption, or executing native code, or not doing the proper management of SSL certificates, which again opens you up to a man-in-the-middle attack. So some of these things are addressed by a RASP like Talsec, and it's a great partner. And for those apps that participate, they are protected much better than the apps that do not participate. Here's what it looks like for iOS applications in the store. Okay, and remember, this is only 3 months worth of versions from the App Store. And this is what they have. They don't have a RASP on iOS as well. They load external libraries. These are all problems which you can see in OWASP Top 10, which have some significant risks, which are in the applications that we put on our devices. So literally, I have a phone, you have a phone, we have these apps, and each of them potentially is opening us up to some problems. So how can we address this? Who can help us? Well, like most things with security, security is layered. So the first layer of security, of course, starts with the developer. If you are making a mobile application, you should integrate something like a mobile application scanning technology into your CI/CD workflow. In other words, developers should take some steps to ensure that the app which they are making is secure. And part of that could be obtaining a Talsec RASP SDK and using it to make sure that your data is encrypted and your communication with your API is secured and that your app cannot be easily cloned or disassembled. And part of that could be validating that the applications are safe and secure to use. So a very simple way that we can help with this is with our QMAST solution. So Quokka MAST, or Mobile Application Security Testing Solution, for companies or individuals who are making applications. This technology of ours, which we've built over the last decade, or 10, 11 years now, actually more than a decade now, it's 11 years, it will identify vulnerabilities and also privacy risks in iOS and Android apps. And it will map them to OWASP Top 10. Again, Sergiy mentioned that, but also other standards, GDPR for data protection, or NIAP is a very popular standard in the US government. And we can analyze any mobile application which is being developed, so we can look at, testing it statically, testing it dynamically, performing some pen testing against it or disassembly, but we don't need the source code. So it's very easy to integrate this into pretty much any developer environment, or even just pull the apps from the store like I did in the previous slides, and we can show you the issues. So the first layer of security really should start with a developer. And so if you scan a particular kind of application, maybe it looks like this, and you can say, okay, cool, I can see that whatever this application is, it has hard-coded credentials, which it's using for secure application operations. This is very bad. And it can also send SMS messages without notifying the user, and it has no RASP detected. So that's an app that should use Talsec. And for a developer, and that's my background, I'm a software developer for many years, this is the kind of tool that will help me fix the problem, right? So we show you what the problem is, we tell you where it is, we map it against standards like OWASP and GDPR, CVSS, the CWE, these are some of the security standards that folks are used to seeing. And for a developer, we provide some remediation advice. So the security of an application really should start with the developer. And you can use a tool like this one. You can buy or even use the free RASP technology. There are different ways that developers can secure their apps. But that's assuming that you are the person making the app. I have 200 apps on my phone. I did not write any of them. So a second layer of security that we see is with private app stores or enterprise app stores, right? So if you work for an enterprise that uses, say a mobile device management solution, probably they have a list of applications that they either require their employees to use or they make available for the employees. If you're in healthcare, then there are certain companies out there which have solutions for vetting the mobile apps that have to do with health services or health devices. And so you have this library of trusted mobile applications which you can use. If you're in the government sector, there is, again, this process where the applications that government employees or military personnel are allowed to use. And now we're seeing more of that in the journalist space because, more and more journalists are going out to sensitive areas with their mobile phones and potentially are either being spied on or tracked. So there's a solution for vetting mobile applications which you did not write. And so we have a solution for that. It's called QVet. And it's all about vetting third-party applications. And I took some screenshots of some real applications that we scanned to show you. The idea of vetting applications is not new, but an automated way to do that at scale is required in order to create this, very scalable applications where you can have a store of 100 or 200 or 1,000 trusted applications which you make available to your employees or you make available to the medical personnel at a hospital or to individual users which are using applications for their own health purposes which they want to be secure. So the ability to automatically scan the applications and the ability to map the results against the standards allows us to enable organizations to create these secure app stores. So here you see an example where a particular application has been scanned. It's looking at both the OWASP Top 10 and also the OWASP MASVS standard. And very clearly, there are issues that are failing the standard. And so this technology makes it very easy to see what exactly is causing the failure. So if you're talking about any kind of regulation or getting a pass on one of the healthcare regulations, for example, that's pretty new in Europe now, this is a tool that can help you. And if you are thinking of making a selection of apps or mobile apps available to your employees, for example, this is a way to quickly scan the latest version or even older versions of those applications and ensure that they are secure and that they would pass an audit. But, some real validation of that is, this is from the US Department of Homeland Security, where we scanned some of these applications and they ran across, real legitimate privacy or security concerns. And some of these applications had critical flaws, which includes things like hard-coded credentials or being susceptible to man-in-the-middle attacks, right? These are things where mobile apps did not use a technology like RASP to protect themselves and did not implement certain coding practices. And as a result, they have these real problems. And that's what we do for companies in the commercial space. That's what we do for the US government and for other countries' governments as well. And we have a big presence in Europe and specifically in Switzerland and the UK. And so we're working with some of those local folks as well in government offices to improve the overall space of mobile apps on a device. Because as I mentioned earlier, the easiest way to compromise a device is through an application on that device which has a problem that can be exploited. But the last thing that I'd like to talk about is the final piece of this, which is us. I have a mobile device, and so I have apps on it, and I work for a company, and I have many friends that work for other companies that have mobile devices, and I'm sure you all have mobile devices. So how do you protect yourself? Either at home on your personal mobile device that has nothing to do with work, or how does your work protect you as well as protecting your work infrastructure to make sure that everything is secure, right? We heard from ProID and Sharry about how convenient a mobile phone can be to help us access our corporate resources, to help us get into the building. And the convenience is super important, and the security is equally important. And so, again, if one of the apps on the phone can be exploited, then potentially it opens up the user to problems. And we like to think about security, but privacy is equally important. And so we've developed a solution for that because we as users, both as individuals as well as employees of companies, we need a solution that protects us from vulnerabilities, but also protects our privacy. And ultimately, if I am bringing my own device to work, and these days many folks are doing BYOD, or bring your own device, right? I want to be in control of my own device. And if I am the employer, then I need to manage or secure those bring your own devices across a whole fleet. And maybe some of my devices are managed and some are unmanaged, right? So we need a solution that protects us and provides that level of control, but also, gives us the ability to remain private or, remain in control of our own devices. And so that's what we have with QScout. The premise is these three things here. So first, QScout protects you from the risky apps. As you just saw earlier, our business is to scan mobile applications and identify vulnerabilities, identify permission issues, identify when private data might be leaking to third parties, either maliciously or accidentally. And so we have this wealth of information about the overall risk profile of a particular mobile app. And so with QScout, we don't need your data. We don't need to actually pull your pictures or your text messages or your camera off of your device. We simply get a list of which mobile applications and which versions of those applications are installed on your phone or my phone. And then we provide a bit of information about the security risks. And so as you see on the screen here, if there are some problems, then you can resolve those problems. You can go in and, either block certain permissions or remove the apps. In fact, permissions is one of those things where I think everybody on this, presentation, you're all aware that mobile apps have permissions. So it asks you, hey, can I use your camera? Can I use your microphone? But if I have 250 apps on my phone, it's not like every day I will go and check the permissions for every single of my apps, right? That's crazy. So with QScout, it actually flags which applications are using, your camera or your contacts or your microphone. And so it prompts you to actually go in and understand and maybe modify which applications you will give these permissions to. And the last thing is the unwanted communication. So all of these mobile apps are talking to someone. Very few mobile apps are truly entirely offline, right? And so a lot of our mobile apps, and we know this, if you have kids, your kids probably have free games, and all those games, of course, are giving you advertisements, and that's how they make their money. But advertisement networks are so prevalent, and they have so much data coming from all of these devices that together, when they aggregate it, it's actually very easy to not anonymize a person. So this has been in the news where, by tracking things like battery levels or which ad networks are being pinged, you can actually dig into the data and find individuals. And so with QScout, we can actually block unwanted communication from your apps without blocking the whole app. So we give users the ability to prevent phishing attacks, to stop the advertising networks from getting your data while doing our best to let the applications keep working. And that's the user side. So that's when it's just my device, not connected to any company. But of course, when we think about the enterprise wants to control our devices. The enterprise has to ensure that if you have a key card to get into the office, as we saw with Sharry, well, then you have a secure phone, right? And with ProID, you can obviously get into the various corporate resources. But what if your device is not secure? Then, of course, we don't want you to get into those resources. So with QScout, the enterprise portal is the solution that a company needs to look at the corporate-owned devices or the bring your own device and set some policies around what is an acceptable risk. And you can even block the devices which are not compliant. But the solution protects your privacy because the administrators on this enterprise portal, they don't see which applications each user has on their device. And they don't get to see the user's messages or the traffic or their pictures. So it's not intrusive. It protects the user's privacy, but it allows to set some policies around what acceptable risk means. And it's very easy. It's all software as a service. There's nothing to install or configure. It can be deployed, with security in mind. And, there's no alerts, which is the best part, because as an administrator of one of these enterprise solutions, you don't want to continuously have to take the action. And with QScout, you don't have to, because the users are the ones that are in control of their devices. So the user is notified when they need to do something like change their permissions or uninstall a risky application. The administrators don't have to do anything once they set the policy. It's very simple. And the last thing I'll talk about is the concept of a personal device manager. So actually, as you'll see in a moment, there are very many solutions in the market today for what's called an MDM, which is a mobile device manager. So Microsoft has Intune and VMware has Workspace ONE, and Mobile Iron was one of the originals in this space. And these tools are really good at controlling a device. But the whole concept of me bringing my device to work is I don't want to give up full control of my device. And so with the QScout PDM, we give you all the security benefits of an MDM, things like the secure container or being able to wipe the device if it's lost, but none of the privacy concerns, because they do not see your text messages, they don't see your pictures, they don't see your data, they don't even see which apps are installed on your device. And again, there's none of the configuration headaches because everything is delivered as a SaaS. So this is the kind of traditional map of solutions on the market. There are a bunch of device and management solutions, and their goal is to protect the device, but they don't have any intelligence on what applications should be blocked or which applications we should allow on the device. They just control it. And then on the right-hand side, we have the real-time threat detection. These are the tools that actually sit on a device, consume battery, unfortunately, have access to all your traffic, unfortunately, but they scan the traffic in real time looking for threats or phishing attacks or other vulnerabilities. And so QScout is really connecting the two systems by providing some of that same capabilities around, as I said, the container, for example, right? So a key MDM feature is to have corporate applications get pushed to a device. Another one is to actually put all those applications into a secure container. Another one is to actually wipe the device or the container, in this case, if it's lost or stolen, right? So we take those same features of an MDM and we make them available to the users here, but we don't violate the privacy. So the administrators don't see the unmanaged app details. The user activity is not being tracked. And, we have the same intelligence that I've started with discussing the risk profiles of the applications. So if an application does have a Talsec RASP, it's very secure and there's no reason to block it. But if an application does not, and also it's susceptible to a man-in-the-middle attack, that might be an application that should not be on your phone. And so ultimately the users are notified, how to become compliant, and the administrators can create policies to block access to managed apps. And so a very simple kind of putting it all together example is, if an application has a RASP, like a Talsec RASP, then it's clean, it's great, let's put it on our device. If an application is, sensitive, so for example, the app is what allows me to access the building, then the administrator can say the phone needs to be secure in order for me to provide you with this key to access the building, for example. And with ProID, the idea is that it's selective, access to corporate apps or corporate resources. So, for example, if your device is not secure because you installed an app which is very dangerous, maybe it harvests your login credentials, for example, then we should block you from being able to log into your email or to your corporate resources. So I hope I've made kind of a way to put it all together, but all the technologies that you heard about today are all different elements of both convenience and also security. And, you know, we all have our ways of delivering it, but the ultimate goal is to make the individual, as well as the employee, as well as the applications and the device that that person uses to be secure. And that's what we do. So to put it all together, developers have a responsibility to make secure apps. Organizations can actually check the apps that their users are using, and individuals now have a solution to protect themselves. And that's what Quokka is. So a little bit about the company. This is what we've been doing for over 10 years. We have built all of these engines in-house, and we're really solving the problem of you know, all of us using our devices all the time, and how do we provide a trusted environment for that. And if you're interested in a personalized demo or, you know, proof of concept, just reach out to us. We're in the US, we're also in Europe, and also in the Asia Pacific region as well, out of Singapore, out of Taiwan. We're in Switzerland and the UK, and would love to talk to you. Thank you very much for having us. Happy to take questions.
We are very grateful for the insights you shared with us. Thank you, Ilya. And now I would like to ask a few questions from the chat. And the first one is it possible to use your product as SDK, or it is a mobile application only?
The QScout product is a mobile application only. So there is no SDK. And in terms of our intelligence gathering, we can scan applications for you. So there's no SDK there either. So no SDK.
Okay. So we can switch the second question, which is, do you have a free version of your mobile protection SDK?
So not SDK, but the QScout app is free. It's in the store. So for individuals, you know, I have it installed on my phone as well. If you just want to kind of see what risks your various apps have on the phone, you can just go to Google Play or the Apple App Store and look up QScout, and you can install it for free.
Okay. And the last question is, when an application sends data, for example, to China, is your product able to actively cut off this critical communication and then inform the user about this situation?
Yes. So the first part, absolutely. So you can block communication to a country, or you can block communication to a specific domain if you want. And when we analyze the applications on your phone, we also tell you which domains those apps are using to connect to the, you know, the advertising technologies or social media or just servers in different countries. So you can block countries or you can block individual domains. And then, of course, the user is notified when that communication happens as well.
Okay, thank you for all your answers and also for the presentation. And I would like to thank all the viewers for their interest and comments. If you missed anything today, you will be able to watch the recording of the conference, which will be sent to your email within the next week. And we would appreciate it if you could fill in the form so that we can have feedback from you. The link is available in the chat. And we already have more online conferences planned on mobile security, so be sure to follow our social networks. I hope you all enjoyed the online conference, and we look forward to seeing you soon again. Bye.